Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome, welcome to another video for The Hunger, the vampire racing deck building game. So if you're kind of for what the rules are, go back, check out the original video. I will put a link in the description for it. This is the expansion High Stakes. So we're going to go over this, as well as we're going to look at one set of promo starter cards. There are more promo cards I found out, but I don't know how many get access to all of them. So I'd rather just include it in this video. This is a smaller box, and then go this way. So this is a full expansion for The Hunger. It's either all or nothing, though. Either you're going to play with all of the mechanics of the game, or you're not going to play with any of it. And I'm going to generally probably guess, once you add it in there, you'll probably just play with it from now on, rather than pulling it out. Unless you've never played the game, you might want to take it out. Might be a little bit easier for first-time people not to have to use this. But what is this? So vampire hunters and werewolves are long-time threats to vampires. But what is a night run without adrenaline? It's time to raise the stakes to a new level. New threats bring new strategies and excitement to the game. Events create unique hunt nights and spawn threats. New powers help to fight new dangers, including other vampires. Yeah, so pretty simple for what that is. So what do we have in the actual game? Before we get into our cards, we're going to have new starter cards we can play as. We have new powers, familiars, humans to fight. We have a couple new ones there. We have brand new threats that are either vampire hunters or werewolves. We have new event cards that are going to trigger, and we have wounds. Plus some new missions and some bonus tokens and stuff like that. So now vampires can now attack only to defeat threats, improve hunting, and stakes the other stuff. So a couple of changes here. When you play high stakes, each player takes the 6 starting decks from this instead of the main game. I'll have to actually do a comparison to see if how different they are, but my base assumption is just because these have they have the extra abilities on them, I don't see why you would probably go back. I don't think the previous ones are going to add anything less. Although, with that being said, is if you don't play with this new expansion, then they might be overpowered in the base game. Each player also takes 8 wound cards of their color and places them on a You Are Injured card to create a face-up pile. New hunt cards with the original hunt cards. Set aside damage tokens. Place the 4 rose cards, because now we got a new one. All the rest of that's the same. Now there's also an event deck. There are 2 different ones. There's one with a moon back and a sun back. In the moon back, you're going to shuffle all and draw 13 and place them on the top of the 15th turn card. So that'll be 14 cards there. Then you draw one from the sun deck, which is your one-time game effect. Continuous game effect card. But you only get one of that stack per game. So every time you play the game, you'll have a new ongoing effect the entire game, and that's your 15th card for the turn. So it's kind of neat. So like every turn, so I'm just gonna kind of skip over to that really quick to look at the missions do. Where is the event cards? So yeah, carpe diem at night nights differ frighteningly. That's not worded correctly. At the beginning of the game, you got a random event card that modifies the entire game, affects all players. Keep the instructions during the game face up. So this will, there's a handful of those, and that'll affect every game the entire time. So every time you play, you'll have a new effect. Start of the second turn, you'll draw and reveal one event card. Follow its effects until the end of the turn. Most event cards will make you add threat. During the 15 turns, always the same. You don't add any extra effects. So it'll be kind of a neat little thing to look over. There's a couple other little differences. The other difference is you can add threat cards off to the side. You're also going to take spawn cards. So there are several of those. You shuffle them up depending on the number of players. You play one for each spawn. You have them set down. So you don't know which ones. There are less green than other colors, or more red than other colors. But they tell you kind of where to add your threats at. How that is going to work is threats here. We're going to kind of skip around in this book a little bit. When you reveal an event card, it's going to tell you different things to do. It's also have a spawn color. It says if it's 0, it's safe at night. There's no threats. If a spawn location card of the same color is available under the hunt track, add that spawn threat. If all spawn locations that color are occupied, you don't add any. So this is saying if there's a green one available, then you'll add a green threat. If there was only one green card available and it's already being used, then you don't add a threat that turn. So even though cards might continually say add a threat like every turn, you may not actually have to. The spawn location is available. The player with the fewest victory points draws the first card from the threat deck, the tie last player in turn order, then place it next to the location. So for example, the corresponding, it showed a red, the red is available. Frag as the player with the least victory points draws Paradox Hilbert, decides to add to the spawn location in front of the second row. So whoever the lowest player is gets to, at that point, determine where that threat goes, so they can kind of maybe use it to kind of block the other players that are doing better, potentially. Alright, so then the next new thing we have is the attack values. So various cards will have attack values on them, like such speed and attack. And attack can be used in 2 different ways. 3 different ways, I'm sorry. One, to defeat one or more threats. You can spend any amount of attack to defeat a threat or put damage on them. This is your vampire hunters and your werewolves. But this is optional. You do not have to do it. If they're attacking you, you're probably going to want to, because otherwise they're bad to have on you. But again, you may determine you need it for other things. To improve your hunts, you can add none, part, or all your remaining attack value to your speed to improve your hunts. So if you get an attack with everything, you can now add it to your speed. So if you have 2 speed and 2 attack, you can now move 2 and hunt for 2, or you can move 1, hunt for 3, or hunt for 4. But you have to have speed left to be able to use attack with it. So if you have 2 speed and you move 2 spaces, now you have 0 speed, you can't add your attack to your hunt. You still have to have some amount of speed to be able to attack. Or hunt, I'm sorry. Now I was looking for where number 3 is. It doesn't actually specify where 3 is on here. It says there's 3 different ways. I think I know what the third one is. It's to attack opponents. Is a different one. Which is probably this one right here. 3, attack other vampires. It's just in here. So this replaces the pushing rule. So when you finish your move on other vampires, you can attack them by spending at least 1 attack. You can only choose attack 1 vampire at a time. You can push a vampire 1 space in any direction. They discard as many cards from their deck as the attack value you spend. You gain 2 for every human discarded. So this is just an element that adds, now that you have threats coming from out, it can kind of mess with you, but now you're also going to add in, you can kind of harm other players. But again, to do it, you have to plan to land on their exact space. You can avoid this altogether if you choose not to do it. So we have threats. How do threats work? So let's look at these guys pretty quick. You don't choose to attack threats while they're defending the hunt. So while they're on the hunt track, off to the side there, you don't attack them. What you do is if you hunt that row, they're now going to defend it, which means they will attack you if you hunt a card from the row. If you do place the threat card in your play area, put the spawn location back under the hunt track is now available. Threats don't stop you from hunting, but they attack you when you do. They attack even if it's an extra hunt due to a well mission bonus effect. In the case of several hunts, you can get several threats, but it's not recommended to do that. They're permanent, they stay in your play area. So their card determines lots of similar things. They're going to have an attack value, number of wound cards you add when they attack you, their life total, how much damage you need to take them out, their type of threats currently, only a werewolf and a vampire hunter, special effects, victory points you gain as soon as you defeat them, and then hunters have an extra bonus. So when do threats attack you? When you hunted a row defended by a threat, they attack you immediately. You place them in your play area, adding a number of wound cards from your wound pile to your discard equal to their attack value. So we're going to have these special wound cards here. Just show one of them really quick. Look at them. The little broken heart symbol. They're going to go in your discard pile. And they're essentially kind of like most deck building games have like weakness or really bad cards, that's what these are going to do. They're going to make your game harder. So yeah, for example, they attack Lady Hawk. She defends, she does 2 damage to them. Every time you need to shuffle your deck. Whenever you shuffle your deck because it's empty, doing an effect, threats in your play area, adding number of threats to your wound pile equal to their attack. So, same idea there, is if they had to shuffle their deck, they'd have to have 2 for that, because that's how many attack they had. Or sorry, not how many attack. I'm going to reread this. Player adds a number of wounds from your wound pile equal to the discard to their attack value. So every time they attack you, you have to do it. If you ever need to add wounds to your wound pile that's empty, you lose 1 for each wound you can't heal. So every time you have to take, so if you take too many wounds from gathering threats and they're defending you, or your discard pile empties and they attack you, eventually you're going to start losing victory points for every one. Now, I'm going to quickly flip over here. There is a way to heal. So we have heal, healer, and healing potions. Heal all wounds in your play area when you hunt a human. When you heal a wound, put it back in your play area to your wound pile. Healer, gain 1 victory point for every wound you heal in the same turn you heal. Or healing potions, heal all wounds to your play area. So they have to be played to heal them, but there is ways to get them back out of your deck, so you don't have to worry, or refill it so you can take more damage. How to defeat them on your turn. After moving, but before hunting. So you spend whatever move points you want, but before you spend to buy any new cards, you can spend your attack you have to deal that much damage to any threat. So how much attack you want to spend on one or several threats, and add 1 damage for each token. So you don't have to. So if they have, example is Nina has 6 life, you don't have to spend 6 on one turn to defeat them. You can spend 2, 2, and 2. And if you had both of them out, you could spend 2 on one, 3 on the other, example. If you defeat a threat, immediately gain their bonus, place them in a digest pile. You don't gain bonus from planes or forests. If you're a vampire hunter, take any bonuses they have as described. Depending, it could be a bonus token or a new mission. If you defeat a werewolf, they also digest all the humans that have eaten beneath them. Hunting effects from eating humans don't trigger. When you defeat a werewolf, you don't gain their blood or victory points. They still count as the faction. So Hugo has an ability to gain you 1 for every human he has digested. So you beat him, you gain 3 plus 2 for each of them, but you don't gain any of their effects, but they do count as endgame. How do they digest them? We want to look at that really quick. We kind of bypass that. When you place a werewolf, they all humans in the 1 column of the row, if any, add them underneath the werewolf card. The humans will no longer affect the game except for mission, scoring, and end of the game effects. During the upkeep, if any humans arrive on the 1 column, the werewolf eats them. So, werewolves you want to defeat because they're, 1, going to give you possibly more humans that you could acquire over a couple of turns. But on the other hand, they're also going to be eating them, so you don't get their effects. So if you defeat them quicker, you don't have to deal with that. Vampire hunters are going to give you an extra bonus. So these are 2 different things. End of the game. Now be careful. Werewolves eating humans, vampire hunters giving bonuses, and some missions can be worth more than 10 victory points. Wherever your opponent's actions avoid your surprise tactics. Humans digested at the same time you defeat work counts as mission points at the end of the game. Undefeated threats at the end of the game, or when you enter the castle, they attack you 1 last time and then you exile them. So you can take some extra hits to lose more victory points right at the end of the game. And then for each wound you still have in your deck, hand, discard, or digest makes you lose 2. So you can digest to possibly get rid of them, but they're still going to make you lose points at the end of the game. It's just a very interesting thing. So this adds a lot of new complex elements to the game, but I think it's going to maybe add a little bit more. So if you want a little bit more conflict, play with this expansion. If you want a little bit easier road, go ahead and skip it. We're going to go ahead and look at our starting cards. So they're going to be just like the previous expansion, or the base game. Be the same for every character. They just have their symbol up in the top corner. So each character has the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. Same 6 cards as each other player. So this one's Gloomstalker, which gets you 2 speed and 2 attack, nothing else. We have Vampiric Claws, gets you 3 speed but no attack. It says, but gain 1 attack per human in your play area. So this could definitely help out. We have Vampiric Rage, which is a 4. For Rage ability, draw 1 card if you have a threat in your play area. So now this one wouldn't be helpful if you're playing it with the base game, because there's no threats in the base game. You're just using it. We have the Hunger makes its return with 2. Gain 1 for each human you hunt this card, so that plays the same way. Vampiric Thirst. Costs 1, give you 1 speed, not cost, or 3 if you have at least 1 human in your play area. So that one works the same way. And Vampire Strength. Draw 1 card if you have at least 1 human in your play area. So I believe these have the exact same numbers. Because these 3 are the exact same. And I think it's 2, 3, and 4, I think, are the same speed. For the other ones, Vampiric Speed, you just get those. They just don't have the special abilities or the attack. If you're not using... so you could basically just replace these with the regular game if you're not using the hunt mechanics or that. Well, you're not going to ignore all the attacks, and you're going to ignore the threats anyhow. So then the rest of them will just play like normal. So that's kind of neat that you could just then replace them and not use the other ones anymore. Then we have some new starter card, or some new deck cards. We have some special ones. We have another Gloomstalker. It's the same as the starter deck one. And we got 3 copies of that. We have 2 copies of Song Gastido, which also has 1 with the starter ability and 1 without. So if you want to play the easier mode. It says you can use threat as speed, and you can use speed as, or attack as speed, and use speed as attack. So that's kind of neat because it'll help you just play around with those a little bit more. 2 copies of Shadow Necromancer, 1 with the A on it and 1 without. Draw 1 card. Threats don't attack you when you hunt their row. That's a very, very good ability. 3 copies of Night Brute, 1 speed but 3 attack. And 2 copies of Vampiric Claws, which aren't as necessarily as powerful as these because they don't have they're better because they have the +1, but this actually could potentially gain a lot more. So it's a little here or there. We have some brand new familiars. Let's drop these down. We have Chimp the Monkey and Kong. Ready? Which means you can put them on the top or the bottom of your deck when you acquire them, hunt them. Permanent, when you play them, they stay in play. And he has Stash, brand new ability. You can stash 1 card under Kong or the other gun. If there are none, add the stash card under Kong to your playing area. You only use a stash or unstash ability once per turn. You use this ability to get rid of a card or to save it for later. So that's kind of cool. You stash 1 card on a Kong if there are none, or add 1 to your play area. So that kind of lets you, hey, I don't have enough hunt or attack to defeat anybody this turn or do anything, right? Or whatever I need. But I could save it for my next turn. So you can stash it under him and then use it later. We have Tango and Cash, our 2 Falcons. Gain 1 speed when you play Cash. Discard Cash to gain 2 attack. It's kind of cool. We have some Scarabs. We have Ra and Kanashu. Heal. Gain 1 health for each wound you heal this turn. So this should be one of the ones that would be specifically you'd only be able to use in the expansion. Same with the other one. It's kind of like, that's how I feel. If you're going to either play at the expansion or don't, there are some cards that could work both ways. But I feel if you just add some cards, it might unbalance the original deck. But if you add all of them with the extra threats, it probably balances back out. We have a tiger named Hobbs, of course, and Sherkai. Draw one card. When you place your card, you may discard familiars to gain 1 attack per discarded familiar, so he can eat some smaller animals. We have a brand new rose, the Rose Sword. Ready, unique, and permanent. Gets you 1 extra attack. I know there's a promo rose out there I saw now, so that'd be kind of interesting to get. But we don't have that one currently. Alright, we have some new humans to eat. Mighty Marge. Champion. Gain X blood when you hunt Mighty Marge, where X is equal to your attack. So this is a new champion effect that you're going to get. So have the little blood with the circle around it. Yes, normally they have 0, but when you hunt them, the higher your hunt is, you gain more points. So you're just spending, attack to hunt. You're going to gain some extra stuff. And then the other one we have is BFF. Hunt another military of your choice on the hunt track. Yeah, it's just, we can list best friends forever. Actually, list on here. Yeah, you hunt 1 extra card on a hunt track for the same faction. For champion, just to kind of go back that for a second, it says if your total attack die is 3 when you hunt a champion, you gain 3 even if you didn't spend any. So if I had 3 hunt and I had 1 speed, and I spent my 1 speed to hunt that, I would still gain 3 for having the attack. I only have to then spend my attack on that. Just kind of neat. We have Humperdinck. Sneaky. Add 1 wound to your discard when you hunt. Humperdinck. Just lets you get rid of your wound cards. Or at least get them out of your way for right now. Are they? Yeah. Just kind of lets you move that around. And then we have Osana, another BFF. We have Max the Great, who's a champion. And we have Valerie, who's a healer. So gain 1 victory point for each wound you heal when you hunt Valerie. We have Hangul, which is another healer. And then we have Afra, another sneaky. So 2 healers, 2 sneakies, 2 champions, 2 BFFs. So kind of extra little abilities, extra guys to add in there. Definitely fun to have. Alright, that is our new play cards. I want to look at the wound cards quick. So on the back of these, we're going to have a picture for each character. Just, again, it doesn't really matter because they're the same exact cards. But I think so we can keep them together. So this is, you are injured. At the beginning of the game, add 8 wounds to the top of your color of the top of this card. If at any time you have no wounds left in this card, you are injured. Until you heal, lose 1 every time you should attack due to an attack or an effect. So it'll be 1 of those for each different character. Then we also have back of the cards will be the same as everything else, so they can get mixed in, but we have the wound cards. We have orange, yellow, green, purple, blue, and red. So 1 for each different colored character. And they are going to say, draw 1 card. Heal if you hunt at least 1 human. So yeah, so they come on, this is another way to get rid of them. So the game's not just like, you got injured, you're done. Like, you're going to take so many hits and you're just going to constantly lose victory points. You have ways of healing yourself. It has a little start. It says, lose 2 at the end of the game if you haven't healed it. So yeah, if you haven't got rid of this by the end of the game, you're going to lose 2 victory points. But you can draw a card when you get this. You get hurt, but you get a card back at least when you play it. So it basically covers for itself. And if you hunt at least 1 human, you can heal. Potentially, though, you could have a wound out, hunt, heal that 1, and then have to still get defended against by a threat and take more damage. But at least it's a way to get it out of your deck. But you have to have it played first. Cool. So that's all those. That's a pretty decent sized chunk of cards. We have, for our hunts, we have the back of these with 4 different symbols. We have griffin, lion, dragon, unicorn, 4 different colors. These are seals that tell you where the threats will go. We have 3 red, 2 blue, 2 yellow, and 2 green. So red hit a little bit more often. In the beginning of the game, you shuffle these up. You have 5 players. You'll draw 5 of them. So there's a possibility you might not draw any of the red, right? You could draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. you know, and then there you go. You might end up with, you know, having to never have to deal with a red threat in the game. So that is a possibility. Let's look at our hunters. They're going to have a double-sided back. Shows a werewolf or a vampire hunter. Just so you kind of don't get them mixed up with everything else. So here go how much attack it does to you, how much life he has, how much you get when you defeat him, if he gives you a bonus, and then what his class is. They have defense, which is that triggering ability, and then permanent. When you defeat with Flint Bowditch, when you defeat Flint Bowditch, take 2 bonus tokens from their reserve, keep one and exile the other. Exiling just means return stuff to the box, nothing can use anymore. Digesting stuff like a card puts it into a special like KO pile for you that you can't access, but it's still used for end game effects. Exiling literally removes something from the game, and it's not considered at all for any end game effects. Paradox Hilbert. When you defeat Paradox Hilbert, take 2 bonus tokens from reserve, exile one of the other ones. Seems to be a common theme with these guys, right? Enigma Marsh. So this one instead has, when you defeat her, take 2 missions from the reserve, keep 1 exile. So I think it's going to be the same ability, just based on whatever their treasure token is. Van Griffin has the bonus tokens. Mist Laurel has bonus tokens. Paragon Bakrir has missions. Scar has bonus tokens. Lady Hawk has bonus tokens. Those are our vampire hunters. For our werewolves, they don't have that bonus there anymore, but they have a special ability that says, eat all humans on column 1. I love that they have all that reminder text on there. It's all like going through the rules. It's like, that's a lot to remember. But almost every card tells you what to do, or at least it has a nice symbol you can just look at a quick reference for. When you defeat Garo, gain 1 victory point for each human he ate. And I think that's just the common ability on all of these, so I'm not going to reread each one, but that's basically what they do. But what were the attacks or the defense on these, or the life on these guys? So we had doing 1 and 2 damage at most, and we had a 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, and a 2. So not too terrible. Werewolves get a little bit harder though. We have Garo with 2 health. Lindy has 3. Wet has 3. Tarja has a 4. Chloe has a 4. Hugo is up to 5. Nina's at a 6. And finally, Old Jack is at 7. So the werewolves are going to be a little bit harder to defeat. But again, they can all be random. You don't know which one you're going to get. Alright. Then our last bunch of cards are going to be our game events, which we'll have the 15th turn. We looked at that. Don't add new cards to the hunt track. You can't hunt humans or pile with humans unless you have an umbrella. End of the game, vampires with 1 or more threats in front of them are attacked 1 last time. You can attack vampires and threats in the cemetery, but not the castle. And the other side says the same thing. Then we have our sun and our moon. So our sun are once per one card per game effects. So these come out, they affect the entire game for the entire turn. It says when you enter the forest for the first time, you can take a random from the reserve 2 missions, keep 1 or exile 1, or 2 bonus tokens and exile 1. Again, the symbols will kind of help you figure some of these out. When you enter the forest for the first time, you can digest 1 human from your play area, or play or discard. So these are kind of like going to trigger, and then like the first time, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. We have you can hunt on a boat. That's going to definitely change up the game, because maybe you wouldn't have taken that path before. On your turn, if you have less victory points than other vampires, gain 1 attack. Gain 1 extra hunt. When you hunt the rose, you still need to spend your attack for this hunt. You can skip all your turns to digest all humans from your hand. Once per turn, you can discard 1 familiar from your play area to draw a card. You will play one less turn. Advance the moon token one space and discard the next event. Each player draws one extra card on their first turn. Interesting. Gain 1 victory point and add 1 wound to your discard each time you hunt a military. And then we have, anytime you have a royal in your playing area, you lose 1 hunt for each royal. Religious Policy was cost +1 to hunt, gain 1 each time you hunt 1. So I think you gain a bonus for every time for each different group. It's different for each group, I should say. Gain +1 victory point 1 each time you hunt a villager. You'll play one less tune event to the moon token one space and discard the next event. Draw a new game event cards. That one doesn't give you a bonus though. Gain +1 speed when you start your turn on the railroad. And gain 1 attack if you have at least 1 threat in your play area. So that's kind of cool. So now these are ones that, except for what, 1, 2, yeah, except for 2 of them that actually mention the attack, you could use these in the base game. So if you really liked the base game, and you're like, this hunting mechanic is just a little bit too hard, a little bit confusing, but you already bought it, right? You bought it for the extra stuff. Maybe you just wanted to, you could definitely add these events in there. At least gives you a little bit change up. But the question will be is, the threat one, which I don't think you're going to be able to really add, because they're going to add more actual threats to the game. So you have werewolf attack. All vampires in the forest add 2 wounds to their discard and draw 1 card. Ambush. All vampires on the road add 1 wound to their discard pile. They find us. All vampires add at least 1 threat in their player discard the first 3 cards from their deck. You need to reshuffle at 1 wound to your discard. We need to run. All vampires on the road choose and discard 1 permanent if they have any in their play area. So all these effects, every turn they're going to hit everybody, and then you're going to have that threat that's still going to possibly come out. Hide and seek. In turn order, each vampire can spend 2 victory points to move their vampire to the closest crypt and choose 1 mission from it. So that one's not terrible. Refill. Add 1 random bonus token face down from the reserve on every empty chest space on the board. Plantification. All vampires must choose and discard 1 permanent. If you do, they draw 1 card. Crowded. After you refill the hunt track, add 1 hunt card on every empty space of the hunt track. That sucks. Werewolves eat everybody. Wake up. Add 1 extra card to each space on the 3 column of the hunt track. Campfire. All vampires in the forest can die just 1 card from their playing area or discard. Brave and dangerous. The vampire first in the castle gains 4 victory points and adds 2 wound to their discard. Move all vampires 2 spaces further from the castle. They stay on the same path. Each vampire takes 2 bonus tokens from them. Each one exiles the other. It's a lucky. Confuse. All vampires shuffle their hand, discard, and deck together, create a new deck, drawing 3 cards. Now, I think Confuse should have automatically made everyone move 3 spaces away from the castle, because that's what the Confused ability does in the first set. No, not that one. All vampires must discard 1 card, then draw 1. Choo Choo. All vampires on rarely add 1 wound to their discard and move 1 space further from the castle. Roses have thorns. All vampires with roses in their player lose 2 victory points and draw 1 card. Prepare to run. All vampires spend 2 victory points to guide just 1 human from their hand or discard. They're out. Add 1 card on each space of the 2 track to the hunt. And then finally, so tired, add 1 card to each space of the 1 column of the track. As a result, you can have more than 1 card on these spaces. Any added human bitten by werewolves is automatically eaten. So that's pretty cool. And kind of like the other event, you could, because those are only using 1 of these, and there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 15, as I said, 13 of them can be used. That's a lot of options. Here you're only drawing 13 of these. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 13, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 extra. So there's 7 extra other than them 13 that you're not going to use every game. And how many specifically would not work in the base game? I am just curious. Hunt track, permanent, bonus tokens, vampire, bonus. So there's only 4 of these that actually reference either wounds or threats. 3 of them reference wounds, 1 reference a threat. So you can play the rest of them in the base game, do the same way. You're even with 7 different. That's only 3 extras. So you're gonna rotate through them a little bit quicker. But you could definitely put these in the base game as well. So this is kind of neat. Is you could buy the base game, or buy this as an expansion, and you could play with these event cards if you like to. And if you don't want to use that, I also want to say is because these couple here just add the wounds to your deck. And the way the wounds work, there's enough stuff I think you can gain wounds. Every time you have to shuffle your deck, you gain a wound. So you could even just use these wounds plus any other card that references wounds and healing as just eliminate the threat aspect, right? Take out the werewolves and the vampire hunters, ignore any attack icons, just worry about wounds. But basically, it's every time you refresh, you have to reshuffle your deck, which is, let's say, it's your energy. You're like, oh, I'm taking a wound because I haven't eaten quick enough to gain more cards to make my deck thicker or fuller, right? And that could be the idea there. And then you lose victory points. So you could essentially include most of this expansion into it, ignoring that attacking and threat options if that seems too difficult. And that's pretty cool because, like, yeah, even lots of the people, the sneaky cards just let you move your wounds around. Healers let you heal them. BFFs let you hunt. The only ones you'd have to really take out or ignore the abilities for, but you probably just take out, would be the 4 champions. Because you're not using that attack option. But then again, you could even if you really wanted to, you could keep the attack option for cards to just use as extra speed, right? You know, extra speed bonuses. And you could just eliminate the whole threat aspect with the vampires. You could still probably play this game pretty well. So that's pretty cool. Alright, let's look at our tokens and stuff. So we're going to have a bunch of hearts. We're going to have some new treasure chests here with our 2s, which either give us 2 healing potions, 2 attacks, or 2 ones. Then we have some new missions here. Regeneration. Discard to gain 2 victory points for each wound you heal this turn. Surprise attack. Discard to gain 3 attack. Pack Hunter. Gain 2 victory points for each werewolf you defeated. Hunter. Gain 2 for each vampire you defeated. Vampire Hunter you defeated. High Stakes. Gain 1 for each threat you have defeated. Great Hunter. Gain 4 if you defeated more threats than other vampires. Unique, gain 4 victory points if you have less wounds than other vampires. Intimidating, gain 6 if you have more wounds than other vampires. Scars, gain 1 for each wound you have. And Pacifist, gain 1 for each wound you have left over in your wound pile. So it's all kind of like 1 for one, 1 for the other. So that's pretty cool. That is what we have for the Hunger High Stakes. Yeah, so going through this, I said it's really cool that they have a bunch of new elements. I think it could really elevate the game, make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging, which people might have liked, because the other one does seem a little basic. But I also like the fact that you can essentially just, if them werewolf, vampire, hunter, you're taking the damage, and then they damage you every turn until you get rid of them, or they're eating characters and all that stuff. If that just seemed a little bit too much, just remove them. You can realistically play the rest of the game without them. If you really don't want to deal with the attack icons, just remove the event cards that don't have attacks. You know, you potentially just not play at the events if you don't want to, if they seem too hard. Add them just to the base game. Again, most of the villagers, it's not gonna, or the humans, it's not gonna make a difference. The familiars, on the other hand, I think all the familiars had abilities that dealt with attacks. So attack stuff. So this one does healing, so you could probably keep the scarab in there. But again, attacking and then stashing. So you could keep half of them if you don't care about the attacking at all. But if you just use it as an extra speed number, yeah, then you could definitely use that as well. Rose, obviously, a new one. And then even the new powers, it's just, yeah, the extra attack number on there. This, for instance, threats don't attack you, so that one wouldn't be as much. This one wouldn't make as big of a difference. But yeah, for the most part, you could just, add in or remove what you don't like, which is a really... They should have promoted the expansion that way. Like, instead of being like, here's these new cards, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's 5 new elements you have to add to the game. They should have said, hey, here's event cards you can add. This is really cool if you want to add these events that go on. You have like one that's a permanent event. You can add these other ones that are going to be every turn events. Combine them together to make interesting thing as well. And then they could have been like, oh, here's wound cards. If you do this, you take wounds. And then you can get rid of wounds to do this, otherwise they cost you points at the end of the game. Add your little vulnerability, right? And then you can be like, oh, here's attack cards on the new stuff. You can add your new starter cards and new other cards to add attack in here, and then add your threats, right? And it could have had it as been like 3 separate different things being added, and then the threats work with the wounds. They make the wounds even more of a pain. But yeah, I think it would have worked better that way. Alright, so the last thing I want to go over in this video are these promo cards, which will have starters. So I was informed they replaced one of your 2-cost speed cards. There's no rules that came with these specifically. I had to go look it up. But each one is kind of just an extra ability that makes each character work a little bit differently. But what they do is have an ability that says once you hit that number of victory points, all but one of them are 25. One of them has a 20 cost. But it says, Yoko's Reach. You can trigger the effect in an adjacent space instead of the one you are in. This kind of neat. Gives her an extra... Like, you have to get a bunch of victory points. You're not using this on turn 1, turn 2. But once you get up there quarter-ish of the way through your levels, then you can start triggering these extra special effects. Midnight Run. She gains 2 extra speed. Snake Charmer. Gain 1 speed if you have 2+ humans in your play area. You may digest one of them instead. Not instead. Dreadful Fate. Discard 1 card to draw 1 card and gain 1 speed. His is 20, but he gains 1 speed, gain 1 for each human you hunt this turn. And then Silent Death. Gain 1 speed and you may hunt an extra time this turn. Just kind of neat because that makes each player a little bit differently. Also noting, like I said, there were other promos out there, even said this in the base game video. There were player boards that each give each player a special extra effect. I don't have them, so I'm not going to go through them. If I can even find good pictures of all the promos in English, maybe I'll do a separate second video until I can get my hands on them. But the ones I saw were like all the promos listed, they're in another language, so it doesn't really help for my videos. The other things they did have included in them extra promos were there was a new Golden Rose, which is kind of cool, having another option there. Just because now if you're playing larger games, 5-6 players, everyone can get a rose, which is kind of neat. Or you can randomize it. You don't know which roses. Hey, I'm only going to put in 3, but you don't know which ones you're getting. That could be also interesting. There were, I think, 6 new humans. It was like two of one color, 2 of another, and then 1 of each of the other one. I don't know what they did. But I don't know, again, why it also wasn't asymmetrical. So far, there have been the same number for each group. So that was kind of weird as well. But maybe they have like a special work together effect. There were also 4 more familiars. 2 more wolves, which I love. That's actually kind of cool. I almost wish they had 2 more wolves in here to go with the ability they stack together. And then there was 2 horses. horses or unicorns. I think they were just horses, though. So that's pretty cool. They have extra promo cards would be neat. As of now, I don't think they're planning on any more expansions. This game came out in... see if I can find your 2022, so 2 years ago, since I'm posting this video. So it's possible they might release another expansion here or there. But I can also potentially agree with somebody else who said, if you add all of this high-stakes stuff to the base game, it's almost too many mechanics to add another full mechanic in there. And it would either end up having to be, what they probably do would be like, take out the hunt mechanic, here's a brand new thing to do. Like, right? Like, and then you play with one or the other. Or they could do more or less like this day, which they didn't do, and like I said, was each one of these are their own separate elements. If they had a new expansion that adds some new stuff, maybe you take out the werewolf threats, and maybe it's other vampire threats, right? So you can either add them to it and have a bunch of random different threats, or maybe it's rival vampires that are threatening. You could just play with them. They could add different event cards in there that do different things. Maybe just a couple... it almost be if they made like just a little micro expansion. Like, here's a couple new things here and there. Some new humans that add some more different things. I would even love though having like maybe 2 more characters. Not necessarily to say like to let's play an 8-player game. Might get too long. But it would also be kind of neat to have 2 more characters for the one side. If you played an 8-player game, you could almost do two teams. Hey, we're a team of characters working together and doing this and that. So you're not going to attack each other. Maybe like you could be like, hey, if you guys are within X number of spaces, you can attack each other's threats or something like that. That'd be kind of a neat little idea. Or also just have 2 other characters to rotate around. Be kind of cool as well. Like, you know, we have ones from different eras, you know, like kind of like Victorian, like Russian, you know, like Outback, like old school, like colonial times. It's kind of neat to maybe have like here's a really old guy, like there, and he's kind of old too. The snake, I forgot Rajesh. But yeah, have like a really olden vampire. You know, it's been around for even longer. Looks old though, not just old years wise. Maybe have a kid vampire. Maybe even add something weird like a vampire hunter one. So maybe he, you know, have an asymmetrical board where he tries to attack threats and stuff. That'd be kind of cool. But that's what we have for The Hunger. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like these types of videos, like deck building, and things like that, let me know. Ooh, one more thing before we quit. I want to show you what it looks like when you can put all this content in the base game box. Let me set that up for you. So, I realized this when I was, I finished after unboxing the base game and I was putting stuff away. I realized, hey, there's enough room for the entire expansion. It actually fits pretty well, which is always a good thing to do. If you know you're going to make an expansion fairly soon, leave room in the base game for it. Now, I am going to say I do wish that there was better dividers for some of the stuff. I'm not necessarily, so like I have all the starter cards from both sets and the promos in here. I'm not necessarily feeling like I have to have like an individual spot for each starter. Like turn sideways so I can grab each one. I don't feel it's that big of a deal to pop it out and here's these 6 cards, here's these 6 cards. It's not that big of a thing. And even still, like I have my decks here. So this is just the human cards. Which if again, just a couple of promos, they'll still fit in there. And then this is all of the other things, these ability cards, the familiars from both sets. Plus I have the werewolves and hunt cards in there. And then I just have the event cards in here. So they all fit. Now, alternatively, if I sleeved all these, they probably wouldn't fit. They fit left and right, I believe, but I don't think they'd fit height-wise. I think you just gain a little bit too much height on them. So that's the thing, is if I didn't have the expansion, though, and I had this entire tray empty, and I had half of these, you know, then I could definitely sleeve them and fit them in each one. So you have the option of which way you'd like to go with that. Then down on this side, just so we do have the tokens, we have all the hunts in there. And once you have both sets, it actually fills it up pretty nicely. Otherwise, you'd be taking out about like this many, and then they kind of slide around. And then the other thing I don't really like, so I have a spot here for all the tokens. For the most part, they're just treasure tokens, which was fine. I do wish there's a separate tray for these guys and then for the hearts. That's just a little minor little thing. Even if like you shrunk this up a little bit or something, I get it. There's only so much room. You do what you gotta do, but that would have been at least a thing. Or even had like a division in here. That would have been kind of neat, just like a half spot. And then you could have had like treasure token on the one side, the other stuff on the other. Otherwise, those slide in there. The single board goes on there. Double boards go on top. Final board, instructions, board, and now I have all of it in one box. So yeah, I really like that. Like, yeah, there's a little minor things they probably could have fixed in there. But I do like the fact that it all fits in here. Again, if I sleeve it, though, it probably won't, so I'd have to do something different. Being a deck building game, I'll probably definitely sleeve it, though, because it gets shuffled so often. But that's what we have for the Hunger and the Hunger high stakes. Hope you guys enjoyed these videos. Let me know in the comments if there's other things you'd like to see, or any other questions on this game. I can attempt to answer them. I'm not, the creator, but I can do my best. See you guys later. Bye.